What if I told you that the trash you throw away could become the most colorful part of your garden? Today on Nest Nature, we're diving into fresh DIY trash garden ideas, bottles, cups, even scrap metal, reborn as borders, pathways, and tiny yard treasures. This video is packed with inspiration and easy to navigate timestamps so you can jump straight to what you need. And if questions come up, leave them in the comments. I read every one. Before we begin, I want to share something personal. To you, I might look like just another face on a screen. But behind this channel is a real story, a real family, and a dream that only survives because of people like you. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it's not just a number. It's a spark of hope that keeps this journey alive. When you subscribe, you're not just helping a creator. You're helping a family carry their dream forward, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. In the heart of a quiet backyard, where autumn whispers gently through the branches, a row of painted bottles stands like a line of jewels. Each bottle, once discarded and forgotten, now carries a new life: emerald green, sapphire blue, ruby red, and golden amber. They are set firmly into the earth, their slender necks hidden, leaving only the glistening crowns to catch the sunlight. Together, they form a glowing ribbon along the fence, a playful yet elegant border that transforms the garden into something magical. Behind this shimmering line, chrysanthemums unfurl in rich yellows, asters in shades of purple, and marigolds in fiery orange. Their blossoms lean toward the jewel-toned bottles as if in conversation, as though flowers and glass share a secret language of color. When the wind passes, petals shiver against the glowing surfaces, scattering shadows of crimson and gold on the ground below. Visitors pause, often surprised. A neighbor walking past the fence slows, her eyes drawn to the unexpected beauty of what was once trash. Children giggle and point at the bottles, likening them to candies or treasure stones. What once lay forgotten in recycling bins now becomes the centerpiece of admiration, proof that beauty does not demand wealth, only imagination. In the quiet of the evening, when the sky deepens to violet, the jewel tones take on another mood, soft, luminous, almost mystical. They frame the tiny yard not just as decoration, but as a boundary between ordinary and extraordinary. A place where thrift meets artistry, where simple choices spark wonder. It is not only edging, it is a reminder that what we discard has stories left untold. That with a touch of paint and a little vision, the forgotten can glow again. Each bottle stands as a testament. In a world rushing toward the new, there is unmatched charm in giving the old a chance to shine. The pathway winds gently through the small garden, its stones softened by time and footsteps. Along its edges, a row of teacups stands proudly, each one painted in delicate pastel tones: mint green, lavender, blush pink, and sky blue. Once forgotten in dusty cupboards or thrift store shelves, these humble cups now sparkle with new identity, forming a whimsical edging that guides every step with quiet charm. Children passing through often pause to crouch low, their fingers tracing the painted rims as if touching a row of fairy houses. To adults, the sight evokes memories of tea shared in grandmother's kitchens, of porcelain laughter and gentle clinks. But here, the cups do not hold tea, they hold beauty, imagination, and the story of a garden transformed. The flowers lean close, as though admiring their new porcelain neighbors. Golden marigolds spill warmth against lavender cups, asters glow beside pale blue, and chrysanthemums nod cheerfully in yellow. Autumn leaves scatter naturally along the path, weaving Earth's own mosaic among painted porcelain. As sunlight drifts across the garden, the teacups catch the light in playful ways, sometimes soft, sometimes gleaming, always alive. At dusk, when shadows lengthen, they seem almost enchanted, marking the path not just for the feet but also for the heart. Each cup whispers, even the ordinary, when given a second chance, can create wonder. Visitors often smile as they walk the path, slowing their steps to savor the colors. It is not grandeur they find here, but intimacy, a reminder that beauty need not be expensive, only thoughtful. The pathway becomes more than a route through the garden. It becomes a gentle invitation to notice the small joys underfoot. In this place, whimsy meets practicality, memory meets renewal. The garden pathway is no longer just a way forward. It is a story told in porcelain and paint, guiding each step with laughter, nostalgia, and quiet delight. Along the edge of a quiet backyard flowerbed, a row of piggy banks rests, though not the kind that once rattled with coins. These are vintage metal piggy banks, rescued from storage boxes and flea markets, brushed clean of rust, and dressed anew in coats of paint. Soft cream, warm terracotta, pale blue, and sage green shimmer gently under the sun. What once symbolized saving is now reborn as giving beauty, color, and a whimsical border to the garden. Each piggy carries life in its round back. Tiny marigolds burst like golden crowns, asters bloom in shades of violet, and sedum spills with gentle pink clusters. Some of the piggy banks sit slightly tilted, their painted faces smiling toward the flowers as if delighted to share their company. The edging they form is sturdy yet playful, rustic yet refined, echoing the farmhouse spirit where charm is found in the unexpected. Visitors who stroll along this edge cannot help but pause. Laughter often follows, surprised at the thought of piggy banks becoming planters, charmed by their cheerful stance. Children point with delight, whispering secrets to the little metal guardians, while adults smile at the cleverness of turning thrift into treasure. Behind them, the chrysanthemums stand tall, their bright petals weaving a backdrop of autumn joy. The piggy banks seem to guard the blooms, a parade of painted companions keeping watch over the garden. The air carries a hint of nostalgia, for each piggy once belonged to someone's childhood, once held dreams of saving. Now they hold something else entirely, living color, rooted hope. As dusk settles, their painted forms glow softly in fading light. The garden does not just end with flowers, it ends with a story, told in metal and petals, reminding all who see it that creativity has no limits. With imagination, even the humblest object can take on new purpose, standing proud and whimsical as part of nature's stage. Here, the border is not just an edge, it is a celebration of rebirth, of laughter, of rustic beauty standing where ordinary once lived. In a quiet corner of the garden, the ordinary earth has been transformed into a stage of color. Bottles once tossed aside now rise again, painted in the hues of the rainbow, crimson red, golden yellow, emerald green, sapphire blue, and violet. Arranged carefully in a spiral, they weave outward like a living mandala, guiding the eye in a gentle swirl of light and paint. At the heart of the spiral, flowers bloom as though drawn to its rhythm. Marigolds burst like flames of orange and gold, asters soften the edges with purples and blues, while chrysanthemums stand tall in brilliant yellows. The spiral seems to cradle them, a colorful embrace that both frames and celebrates the blooms. Children who step into the yard often run toward the spiral, circling around it in laughter, their small feet tracing its curves. To adults, it feels like stepping into a piece of art, something both playful and intentional, where geometry meets creativity and trash becomes treasure. The spiral is not just a border, it is a dance, captured in glass and soil. As the day moves, sunlight strikes each bottle differently, making the colors shimmer and change. Morning brings a soft glow, afternoon a dazzling brightness, and evening casts jewel-like shadows across the ground. The garden feels alive, not just in plants but in the artistry of its design. Visitors pause at this spiral, often pulling out their phones to capture its charm, for it seems both whimsical and profound. It reminds them that beauty need not come from new materials or costly purchases, but from imagination and a willingness to see value in the forgotten. When autumn winds scatter leaves across the spiral, the bottles hold their ground, still bright against the earthy browns. They seem almost eternal, promising that even in seasons of fading, color and joy can remain. Here in the backyard, the spiral tells its story of bottles reborn, of colors reclaimed, of a garden that refuses to be ordinary. It is not simply edging, it is an invitation to step closer, to see the world not in straight lines, but in playful swirls of wonder. At the center of the backyard stands a modest wooden gazebo, its posts wrapped in climbing vines and its roof shading a circle of peace. Yet it is the ground below that captures the first glance, a border of ceramic cups, each one repurposed, painted, and placed upside down in a cheerful row. They encircle the gazebo like a garland of porcelain, turning what was once a forgotten collection of mismatched cups into a crown of color. Each cup tells a story. Some once held tea at morning tables, some once clinked in laughter during gatherings, others may have sat quietly on shelves. Now, brushed with fresh tones of pastel pink, mint green, lavender, and sky blue, they share a new life together, forming a whimsical edging that feels both playful and timeless. The flowers rise around them in joyful harmony. Marigolds flash gold at their sides, asters bloom in purple cheer, and chrysanthemums unfurl like radiant suns. Their blossoms lean toward the cups, their colors mingling as if cups and petals were part of the same garden conversation. In autumn's gentle light, fallen leaves scatter naturally across the edging, softening the line yet deepening its charm. Visitors stepping into the gazebo cannot resist lowering their gaze. Some smile, surprised by the simple cleverness of the design. Others laugh softly, recalling kitchens where similar cups once lived. Children giggle at the upside-down row, seeing faces in the curved porcelain, inventing stories as they trace the painted rims. By evening, the cups take on a new mood. As lanterns inside the gazebo glow warmly, the pastel edging reflects the light, becoming soft silhouettes against the flower beds. The border no longer feels like a line. It feels like a celebration, a garland of memory and renewal tied gently around the gazebo's heart. This edging is not about perfection but about joy. It proves that beauty lies in reimagining the ordinary, in refusing to let the old fade away without a chance to bloom again. Around this gazebo, the cups do not pour tea, they pour delight, reminding every visitor that in the garden of life, the simplest things often shine the brightest. In the garden's quiet corner, the earth seems to ripple like water. Along the flower bed, bottles painted in every shade of the sea, cobalt, turquoise, aquamarine, and pale seafoam, rise and fall in a gentle wave. They are not random, but carefully placed, each curve flowing into the next, creating the illusion of an ocean tide frozen in glass. Once tossed aside, these bottles now shine with a new life. Sunlight strikes their surfaces, scattering reflections across the soil as though the ground itself carries fragments of the sea. Behind them, marigolds flare golden like the setting sun, asters bloom in cool violet, and chrysanthemums glow like morning light on calm waves. Together, flowers and bottles create a harmony of earth and water, rooted in soil yet echoing the rhythm of the coast. Visitors often pause, surprised to find the sea within a backyard. Children trace the undulating line with their hands, whispering that it looks like mermaids might swim there. Adults stand quietly, their thoughts drifting toward memories of beaches, salt air, and long summer days. The garden becomes more than a space of plants, it becomes a story, told in waves of glass and petals. As the day moves, the wave border changes mood. In morning light, it sparkles fresh and lively. By afternoon, the bottles gleam fiercely, like sunlight flashing on surf. At dusk, the blues deepen, shadows softening their glow into something mysterious and calm. Even fallen autumn leaves, scattered across the wave, look like driftwood carried by tide. This edging is more than decoration, it is transformation. What once was trash now sings with movement and memory. The bottles, reborn, do not simply edge a flower bed. They carry the sea into the garden, weaving coastal dreams into rustic soil. In the stillness of evening, when wind stirs gently and lanterns glow from the patio, the wave stands quietly luminous. It does not crash or roar, but it speaks of oceans remembered, of creativity discovered, of beauty reclaimed. Here, in the smallest of gardens, the sea has found its echo. The fence that frames the garden tells a story of the farmhouse spirit, simple yet full of warmth. Along its weathered wood, enamel mugs hang upside down, each one freshly painted in soft rustic colors: sage green, cream, terracotta, and dusty blue. They line the fence like cheerful sentinels, standing not in a cupboard but under the open sky, where their curves catch the sunlight and their colors blend with the blooms below. These mugs were once part of everyday life. They carried morning coffee, evening tea, laughter shared across tables. Now, stripped of stains and brushed with paint, they stand in unity as a border of character and charm. Each mug whispers its history while offering a new role, not to hold liquid, but to hold memory, decorating the fence with farmhouse warmth. Beneath their cheerful row, chrysanthemums unfold golden petals, asters add purple softness, and marigolds burn bright as embers. Together, they weave a tapestry of color that flows from ground to fence, flower to enamel. Autumn leaves drift lazily onto the soil, nestling at the base of the fence, as if nature itself approves of the design. Neighbors walking by often pause, their eyes caught by the unexpected sight. Some chuckle at the cleverness, others nod with quiet admiration. Children tug at their parents' hands, pointing at the mugs and asking why they're there. The answer is simple: because beauty can be made from anything, even the most ordinary objects, if given a chance. As daylight fades, lantern light from the patio glows softly against the mugs, their painted surfaces gleaming like beads of color in the dusk. The fence line no longer feels like a barrier but like an embrace, marking the garden with personality and gentle whimsy. This border does more than decorate, it transforms. It proves that design can be playful, that utility can become art. The mugs, once clinked in kitchens, now sing in silence along a wooden fence, blending farmhouse tradition with garden creativity. Here, what was once overlooked becomes unforgettable, turning a simple fence into a line of story, color, and rustic delight. Along the edge of the garden, earth meets art in a rhythm of natural and man-made beauty. Bamboo poles, cut clean and upright, stand in quiet strength. Beside them, painted bottles glow like gems: emerald green, cobalt blue, amber gold. Together, they form a border that is neither plain nor loud, but harmonious, a dialogue between the forest and the hearth. The bamboo carries the whisper of nature, its pale surface warm in the sun, its vertical line steady and grounding. The bottles bring sparkle, their jewel tones catching light and scattering it across the soil like fragments of sky and fire. Where bamboo is calm, the bottles are lively. Where bottles shine, bamboo steadies. The garden border becomes a melody, each note distinct yet blending seamlessly. Behind this rhythmic line, chrysanthemums rise in golden bursts, asters soften the scene in purples, and marigolds burn in orange flame. Japanese anemones lean gently against the bamboo, their white petals echoing its simplicity. Sedum blooms cluster between them, a soft reminder of autumn's richness. The flowers seem to bow toward the border as if recognizing its harmony. Visitors pause when they see it. Some murmur at the cleverness of blending rustic bamboo with painted glass, two worlds converging into one. Others smile quietly, sensing the balance it brings, an edge that is not just a line but a symbol of unity between natural growth and human imagination. As sunlight shifts through the day, the border changes mood. Morning brings cool glimmers, afternoon a blaze of brightness, and dusk settles the bottles into shadow while bamboo glows pale in lantern light. The garden seems alive in this dance, its edges breathing with rhythm, its beauty enhanced by contrast. This edging is more than decoration. It is philosophy, expressed in soil and color. It shows that the strongest designs are born not of dominance but of balance, not of excess but of harmony. Bamboo and bottles, nature and craft, rustic and refined, all stand side by side, transforming a small garden into a lesson in coexistence. Here, the border does not simply mark an end, it marks a beginning, a promise that even in the smallest spaces, beauty can be found when differences live together in peace. At dusk, the garden begins to breathe differently. Shadows lengthen, the air cools, and along the pathway, small cups glow like fireflies. Once ordinary vessels of tea, they now stand transformed into lanterns, painted in gentle hues of jade green, stone gray, and ivory cream. Their painted surfaces reflect the flicker of candlelight, creating a rhythm of calm along the edge of the garden. This is no ordinary border. It is a meditation, a blending of Japanese simplicity with the humble charm of repurposed cups. Each cup, turned carefully into a lantern, carries light not just for the eyes but for the spirit. The glow spills softly onto the soil, mingling with the golden blooms of chrysanthemums, the delicate petals of Japanese anemones, and the purple cheer of asters. Together, flowers and light create a tapestry of serenity. Visitors walking the path often slow their steps. Some whisper, reluctant to disturb the quiet magic. Children stare with wonder, as though tiny spirits might be hiding in the lantern cups. Adults breathe deeper, soothed by the gentle order of the edging, the balance of earth, flame, and porcelain. In daylight, the cups speak differently. Their painted surfaces echo the muted tones of stone, bamboo, and moss, blending naturally with the garden's calm palette. They stand as a subtle border, understated yet full of presence, guiding without commanding. By night, they awaken, offering not only beauty but comfort, turning the garden into a sanctuary of light. The story of these cups is one of transformation, objects once overlooked, now elevated into symbols of peace. They remind us that simplicity holds power, that light can emerge from the humblest of places. The garden does not shout here, it whispers, and its whispers linger long after the lanterns are extinguished. In this quiet setting, Japanese design and recycled imagination meet. The cups may be small, but together they create something profound, a border of light, a pathway of calm, and a reminder that gardens are not only seen but felt. Along the edge of a playful garden, tiny guardians stand in line, not statues or stones, but repurposed toys of metal. Once forgotten in attic boxes or thrift shop corners, these miniature cars, trains, and animal figures have been brushed clean, given coats of fresh paint in bright reds, sunny yellows, grassy greens, and ocean blues. Now they rest proudly in the soil, forming a border that feels alive with nostalgia and joy. The flower bed behind them bursts with color. Golden marigolds flare against the backdrop of purple asters, chrysanthemums open their sunny faces, and sedum clusters quietly in pink. The flowers seem to smile at their unusual companions, while the toys, standing sturdily, hold the edge with whimsical charm. Children who enter the garden rush immediately toward the border, delighted by the sight of toys lined like a secret parade. Tiny hands reach down to point at the cars and animals, inventing stories as they go. Adults pause as well, their smiles softened by memory of childhood days, of playtimes where these toys once roamed across carpets and lawns. In daylight, the toys gleam with bold, cheerful energy. Their colors pop against green grass and brown soil, each figure catching sunlight like a playful spark. By evening, lanterns cast shadows over their forms, giving them a quiet dignity, as if they stand watch over the flowers they guard. This border is more than a line between path and garden. It is a bridge between generations. It shows how yesterday's playthings can find new purpose, how the whimsy of childhood can become art for grown-up spaces. The garden becomes not only a place of beauty but of storytelling, where laughter from the past finds its echo in the present. What was once destined for dust and discard has been reborn in color, in charm, in delight. These toys no longer lie forgotten. They stand proudly in the earth, turning a simple garden edge into a parade of imagination. Here, trash becomes treasure, memory becomes border, and whimsy becomes timeless. Along the edge of the flower bed, color bursts not from blossoms alone but from the ground itself. A short wall, crafted from shards of old cups, rises in playful patterns, pieces once broken and discarded, now pieced together into a mosaic alive with light. Reds and turquoise, yellows and violets shimmer in the sun, their fractured lines no longer flaws but a language of art. This border tells a story of resilience. Each cup once held tea, coffee, perhaps memories of quiet mornings or lively gatherings. When they broke, their usefulness seemed lost. Yet here, reassembled with care and painted anew, they stand stronger, brighter, more beautiful than before. The cracks have become veins of character, turning imperfection into design. Behind this mosaic, chrysanthemums shine in golden abundance, asters bloom in purple cheer, and marigolds burn with fiery orange. The flowers seem to echo the vibrancy of the wall, their colors conversing across soil and stem. Sedum clusters spill gently at the edges, softening the geometry with natural grace. Visitors often pause, drawn to the unexpected artistry. Children press their hands against the smooth fragments, tracing patterns of color like puzzle pieces. Adults marvel at how something broken can become whole again, how waste can become wonder. The wall does not simply edge the garden, it tells of transformation, of beauty born from fragments. As sunlight shifts, the mosaic changes too. Morning light glitters in sharp brilliance, afternoon brings glowing warmth, and dusk softens the shards into muted tones, like jewels beneath water. Even fallen leaves, drifting lazily against the wall, seem to belong to the artwork, adding their browns and golds to the palette. The mosaic edging is more than decoration, it is philosophy made visible. It shows that nothing is beyond renewal, that even broken things can find purpose, that art can emerge from what once was cast aside. The garden becomes not only a place of flowers but of stories, stories held in porcelain, paint, and patient hands. Here, the wall does not stand as a barrier but as a celebration, a vivid splash of color reminding all who pass that beauty is often found where we least expect it. When evening drapes its quiet veil across the garden, the pathway awakens with light. Bottles, once empty and forgotten, now stand proudly along the edge, each one painted in soft jewel tones of emerald, ruby, and amber. Inside them, small solar lights flicker to life, casting a gentle glow that guides the steps of anyone who wanders here. By day, the bottles shine with their painted colors, catching sunlight like gems resting in the soil. Their bright surfaces echo the joy of marigolds blooming in orange flame, asters nodding in violet cheer, and chrysanthemums lifting golden crowns. But as daylight fades, a different magic unfolds. The border becomes a constellation on earth, a river of glowing lanterns marking the garden's heart. Children follow the glowing bottles as if chasing a trail of fairy lights, their laughter echoing softly under the trees. Adults walk slower, savoring the calm, letting the warm glow pull them gently into peace. The bottles, humble in origin, now stand as guardians of twilight, transforming the simple act of walking through a garden into an experience of wonder. Autumn leaves scatter across the path, their crisp edges catching the glow, turning gold against the earth. Sedum blooms lean toward the lights, Japanese anemones sway gently in the evening breeze, their white petals soft against the deepening sky. The garden feels alive in its quietness, not loud but luminous, whispering comfort with every step. This glowing border tells a story of imagination and patience. Trash turned into treasure, forgotten glass reborn as light bearers. It shows that even in darkness, beauty can shine, that renewal can create not only function but poetry. By night, the bottles no longer feel like edging, they feel like invitations. Invitations to slow down, to dream, to walk a little longer in the cool air of the backyard. In their glow, the garden becomes more than plants and paths. It becomes a sanctuary, where light is not just seen but felt. Here, along the bottle glow path, the garden speaks a truth, that even the simplest things, when given care and vision, can light the way toward wonder. The pergola stands tall, its wooden beams wrapped in climbing vines, but it is the edges that sparkle with delight. From its frame dangle painted bottles, each one tied with rustic twine, swaying gently in the breeze. Emerald, ruby, sapphire, and amber tones catch the sunlight, scattering it across the garden floor like pieces of stained glass. What once was trash now dances as charm, turning a simple pergola into a living jewel box. By day, the bottles shine in bright clarity, their surfaces gleaming as the wind stirs them softly. Beneath their glow, chrysanthemums unfold in golden richness, asters stretch with purple grace, and marigolds burst in orange fire. The blooms seem to join the dance, their petals swaying in rhythm with the bottle charms above. Sedum and Japanese anemones add gentle touches, their colors blending naturally into this rustic tapestry. Visitors often lift their eyes as they pass beneath. Children giggle, imagining the bottles as magical talismans. Adults pause, caught in the nostalgia of glass catching light, remembering days when such bottles sat forgotten in cupboards. Now, they are reborn as charms, their clinks in the wind like whispered music. At dusk, when lanterns flicker to life within the pergola, the hanging bottles transform. They no longer simply reflect the light, they magnify it, casting warm glows and playful shadows. The garden becomes enchanted, as though each bottle holds a captured star, waiting to shine for those who gather here. The pergola charms are not mere decoration, they are an invitation. To linger, to look closer, to feel joy in the details. They prove that the simplest materials, touched with creativity, can transform a space into a sanctuary. Trash becomes treasure, and treasure becomes memory. Here, in the gentle sway of bottles and the quiet bloom of flowers, the pergola tells a story. That beauty is found not in perfection, but in imagination. Each charm swings as proof that even what is discarded can still sparkle, if given the chance to hang in the light of day. At the garden's edge, strength and color meet in an unexpected form: slices of old metal barrels. Once destined for scrap, they have been carefully cut, their curves standing upright like half-moons, their surfaces repainted in earthy farmhouse tones: rust red, sage green, warm cream, and deep charcoal. Together, they form a border that is sturdy yet artistic, rustic yet full of life. Behind this line of barrel slices, the garden blooms brightly. Chrysanthemums rise in golden crowns, asters scatter purple charm, and marigolds burn with orange fire. Their blossoms soften the firmness of metal, creating a dialogue between strength and fragility, permanence and fleeting beauty. Sedum and Japanese anemones weave through, their delicate textures dancing against the bold backdrop of repurposed iron. Visitors often pause at the sight. What could have been junk now frames the garden with pride. Children run their fingers along the smooth painted arcs, tracing the rhythm of the border. Adults nod thoughtfully, surprised at the elegance born from such humble origins. The barrel slices, once industrial and forgotten, now stand as protectors of soil and blooms, transformed into art through vision and care. As the day unfolds, sunlight glints off their painted surfaces, each arc catching a glow that shifts with the hour. In morning, they shine softly; in noon's blaze, they stand bold and gleaming; in evening, they darken gracefully, silhouettes against the lantern light of the patio. Autumn leaves drift across them, their crisp edges nestling between the curves, adding to the rustic poetry of the scene. This edging is not only practical, it is symbolic. It shows resilience, the beauty of giving strength a second chance, of turning what is hard and forgotten into something that protects and inspires. The garden feels safer, more defined, and yet more inviting, framed not by plain borders but by a story of reinvention. Here, the metal no longer speaks of factories or storage, it speaks of creativity, of a gardener's eye that sees potential where others see waste. The rustic barrel slice border does not just edge a garden, it edges a dream, proving once more that transformation is the true heart of beauty. In the smallest corner of the garden, color gathers in joyful symmetry. A ring of teacups, each painted in the bright hues of the rainbow, stands upside down in the soil. Red leans into orange, orange melts into yellow, yellow warms into green, and green fades to blue and violet. Together, they form a circle that is both playful and profound, a frame of color that celebrates the beauty of even the tiniest spaces. Within this circle, the flowers rise proudly. Golden marigolds burst like sparks of sunlight, purple asters soften the edges, and chrysanthemums bloom in radiant yellow and white. Sedum clusters weave through in gentle pinks, their blossoms spilling like laughter. The rainbow of cups does not overshadow them, it celebrates them, lifting their colors higher through reflection and harmony. Children discover this circle-like treasure, their eyes lighting with delight as they count the colors, spinning slowly to follow the ring. To adults, it is both whimsical and touching, reminding them of simplicity, of play, of the way small joys can transform the ordinary into something unforgettable. Sunlight plays across the painted cups, making their colors shimmer against the soil. In the morning, they glow softly, gentle companions to dew-drenched petals. At noon, they blaze brightly, bold against the autumn sky. By evening, their tones deepen, glowing warmly in lantern light as the garden settles into quiet. The circle feels more than decoration. It is a symbol of unity, of completeness, of joy found in repetition and pattern. It turns a tiny flowerbed into a stage, where nature and creativity perform side by side. Each cup, once forgotten in cupboards or thrift stores, now plays its part in a story of renewal and delight. This rainbow circle proves that gardens need not be vast to be magical. In even the smallest patch of soil, beauty can bloom when imagination leads the way. The cups whisper softly, color belongs everywhere, joy belongs everywhere, and even the tiniest garden can carry the heart of a rainbow.